Hey! Today we are doing a review. I'm so excited about this. I was in the Essence section of Shoppers Drug Mart the other day. I found these beautiful babies. Caught my eye. They had a little highlighter palette too, but the colors were just way too weird for me. Maybe I'll pick it up and do another video on those. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that, if that interests you at all. But for the moment, I bought these two palettes. There is the Future is Me palette and the Too Glam to Give a Damn palette. The packaging is so incredibly wonderful, especially for an affordable drugstore palette. Really top notch for the packaging here. They feel like high-end palettes. I will have timestamps down in the description box, so you can kind of just skip to whichever you are interested in. But I'm going to talk about each of these palettes individually and then sum it up as a whole. I've got a little tutorial for each palette, and I'm going to do swatches for each palette. And we're going to talk about them because I have been wearing them for the last week, and we're going to review it. Actually review it. This is not a first impressions. These are both $12 each Canadian. I don't know what that is in US, but cheaper. It'll be cheaper in US. So let's start with Too Glam to Give a Damn palette. So this one, the packaging is a nice floral design, and the insides of both these palettes are set up exactly the same. They have the long mirror along the top, and then the shades are kind of set up in the pans like the MAC palettes. Actually, no, they're set up exactly like the MAC palettes. That was the first thing I thought when I saw these. So it has the shadows along here, and then this big one on the end is supposed to be the highlight shade. Obviously, you can use that for shadow as well. I actually think this one was my favorite of the two palettes. I love the color stories of both of them. This one appeals to me more than I thought it would. They're both pretty cool toned. I think that's why I was drawn to them, because they are very cool toned palettes. The Too Glam to Give a Damn palette has the highlight shade, 2 mattes, 3 glitters, and 3 satins, or metallic satins. They're not very metallic. I think they're a little more on the satiny side, but they do have kind of like a pearl sort of iridescent finish to them, and they're really pretty. The mattes in here are wonderful. I was not expecting a lot from these. It's a $12 palette. It's Essence. Essence is very hit and miss. Their stuff's either really, really good or really, really not good, and I was unsure. So I was super duper impressed with the mattes specifically. They are so soft. So soft and super duper pigmented. These are the 2 mattes from this palette. The glitters are also fantastic. They have very high color saturation with the glitter as well. So I can't really complain. They do their job. Now, the mattes, which we will discuss first. Incredibly pigmented. I was really worried they were going to buff away to nothing or muddy up. They didn't. This palette, the mattes in this palette really, really surprised me. And I gotta just say, I'm in love with them. I've used other Essence eyeshadows. I haven't really been a big fan. They either didn't last very long or they muddied up. These ones didn't. They went where they were supposed to. They felt creamy and smooth when I put them on and when I swatched them. For both the tutorials, you'll notice that I did pack them on my eye first. I did kind of a James Charles. Breast pigments. No shade. So I did pack them on at first because I wasn't sure what to expect. And when I did blend them out, where I put the bulk of the color, it stayed. And it blended out smooth. It was really easy to blend out. I'd say these, especially for how pigmented they are, seem to be very good beginner shades. So if you are not as experienced, if you're learning how to blend, if you want something that basically blends for you, these worked like really well. Ooh, did they work really well. I was so happy with the mattes. in this palette. And this one specifically, it does have that sort of bone peachy shade that you can use to put all over your lid, which probably helped a lot in the blending process of the purple. And keep in mind, those are the only two mattes in this palette, but I feel like with the color story that's going on, only having those two mattes isn't so much of a bummer. Like, you can still create a lot of looks using only those two mattes. The satin shades. I think these were the biggest letdown for me. The colors look very pretty in the pan. And it's not really that they're like patchy. It's just that they're not very like as exciting as I was expecting. I was kind of hoping they'd be a little bit more exciting when you actually put them on the eye. I did apply these in the tutorials with my fingers because that is typically how I would go about applying that kind of shade from any palette, not just these. I'll do a quick finger versus brush swatch here for you. I'm gonna go into this pink one here. So that is the finger swatch of the pink shade, and this is a dry brush. I've not wet this. It's not as bad as I thought. You can still see the sort of iridescent sheen to it, but it is not as, you know, in your face as the finger swatch is. Oh, heck yes. And that is with a wet brush. So you can clearly see, like, they're definitely not the worst quality in the world. Are they the best quality in the world? No, but it is a $12 eyeshadow palette from the drugstore. So let's talk about the glitters for a second here. If anything's going to muddy up a little bit, it's going to be these, because they do have a lot of base color along with the glitter. So they are very sparkly, very in your face. They don't blend away to nothing like a lot of the cheaper glitter shades tend to in these palettes. You can see they're very pigmented, and this is with my fingers. Again, that's how I would apply this shade anyway. The only one that doesn't really impress me that much is the gold. So there's the green with a wet brush. I think personally I would still go with my finger, but that really isn't bad. Like, it darkened up the green a little. You can still see the sparkle. It's not gonna, you know, as soon as you start blending, the sparkle isn't gonna disappear, which tends to be my number one issue with these types of glitter shades, where it's a base pigment and a glitter. It's not as bad as the mattes with a glitter. Those I just don't fully understand. I've found very few that work properly, and they're just not that impressive. So the only glitter shade I wasn't really impressed with was the gold, and even then it still shows up. It's still a glittery gold color. It's just not as in your face as I was expecting it to, kind of like the satin shade. Let's talk about the highlight. The highlight in this palette is amazing. I think it is my favorite highlighting shade. I am already wearing highlighter, but that's a-okay. It's one of those, you can see it in the light, and up front you don't get that stupid line where it looks like you just kind of took your finger in a highlighter and swiped it on your face like a fucking football player. But it does the job. I think it's actually my new favorite highlight that I own in all of the world. A-okay with being this shiny. Considering how dark that is, I didn't really expect it to look that good on my skin tone, but it goes on way lighter, and I feel like it would still be complimentary even on a much darker skin tone than my pasty self. This palette in particular, it wore all day. It came off easy. The colors didn't stain, specifically the matte. I was worried about staining. I was really worried about that staining because it is such a saturated dark purple, but it came off like nobody's business. But it did stay on my eye until I applied the makeup remover. What more can you fucking ask for? I'd say this palette, specifically, the Too Glam to Give a Damn palette, is gonna get 5 out of 5 potatoes because that's just how much I loved it. It is not high-end quality by any means. I would not compare this to any, like, you know, Huda palette or anything of that sort. There, $12, drugstore. Go get it. It's not, you're not wasting money, I can tell you that. I'm gonna do some swatches of this, and then we will check out the tutorial of the little look I did with this, and then we will talk about the Future Is Me palette, because I do have some different opinions on that one. So here we have the Bone Matte shade, It really does not show up much on me, but I think you can kind of see it there maybe. And then there is the purple matte. You can see the pigment here, and when it trails down, it isn't patchy. That's one swipe. I just going over and blending it a little bit. But you can see how nicely it blends just from that swatch. I'm going to show you the satin shades. Here is the light purple, the dark purple, and the pink. So they're not bad for like a pop of color. They do go on very smooth. Just the colors are a little lackluster for my liking. This one is the gold, the green, and the purple. The highlighter. So it's got that sort of peachy, pink-orange shift to it, and it is a beautiful. So I started by covering my whole lid with the peachy matte shade, and then I went into the matte purple and I stamped it on the outer corner and brought it into the crease. It blended out really nicely. I think I've said that way too many times in this video. And I just kind of kept building it up. It only took about 2 or 3 times, and then floofed it out with a floofy brush and took the same color underneath my lower lash line. Using my finger, I stamped on the satin purple shade. It layered a little gray over top of the purple matte shade, but it built up eventually to a purple. And then I added the sparkly purple on top and the dark purple on my lower lash line to add a little bit more color. And then I just put the highlight shade in my inner corners. I topped the rest of the eye look off with some purple tattooed liner and some NYX Faux White and some Clinique mascara. Lastly, I just tried really hard to not cover my entire face in this highlighter because it is just so goddamn beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about what is on my face right now. I've been wearing this all day. This is the tutorial that I did for this palette, so you will see how to do this look with the palette. Let's discuss. It says, "The future is me," and it's all space themed on the front. Isn't that fun? It's got the hefty cardboard casing, and then on the inside it has the mirror along the bottom, and then the pans that are set up in this nice sturdy plastic casing, same as the MAC palettes. Actually, I think there is a MAC palette that has a similar color story to this. I could be wrong. I'm gonna look it up. If there is, I will insert a quick picture of it now. And if not, I just pause for no reason at all. This one has similar setup to the other one. It has only 2 matte. There's actually the 3 glitter shades, and I want to say there's 1 satin and 1 metallic, and then a matte glitter shade. So this one has kind of a different mix of formula. Oddly enough, I thought this palette was going to be my favorite, just going on color story alone. And then when I was like playing with it, putting it on, doing some swatches, I just pulled out an accent. I was putting it on and I decided I was a little uncomfortable with some of the shades, you know? So the highlight shade is exactly the same formula as the other highlight. The mattes are the same. They're creamy, they're soft, they're buttery. You put them on and then they definitely show their colors, and then they don't blend away to nothing. They blend into this beautiful thing. I do have a few complaints with this one. Not just because there is a matte with glitter in it. That is not of very good quality. I will tell you that. I don't like that shade at all. It looks nice in the pan. It's got this rainbow holographic glitter. It does not swatch very well, and I can tell you right now, it does not go on the eye very well. The mattes, I love the formula of them. I think the colors they chose are very cool. There's a cool tone gray, there's a dark navy, and those are the two mattes you have to work with. Unfortunately, unless you're going for a dense smoky eye every fucking day, you're not gonna get regular looks out of this palette. These two colors are very limited. You can't, like, you can mix them with these colors, but I can't see you getting a lot, like a wide variety of looks out of these. I think even if this white shade right here were a matte instead of a satin, that would be enough to change my mind about that, because then you'd at least have a color to put on the lids. You'll see in my tutorial, the mattes, although they are the same formula as the other palette, I had some issues blending the first color. I put the gray down as my transition. Unfortunately, I like to use another shadow as a base transition so that it blends easier. Well, I couldn't do that because I was only working out of this palette for my shadows anyway. And gray, the gray, it patched out. It took me a little while to unpatch it because I had no consistent base under it because there was no other shadow. That is my one complaint about the mattes, is simply that there isn't enough option in this palette as far as colors go to create a full look. So on that note, let's talk about the satin. There's really only the one satin, and it both disappointed me and impressed me. The formula is lovely. I really like it. It's smooth, it's creamy, it kind of feels like the mattes do. It's very soft and actually way more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. Like, that is the white. It doesn't look chalky. There is a metallic gray, or like a silver, which is pretty. This is it. But it kind of does feel like the satins. It's smooth, it goes on nice, it looks good swatched, and it is pretty shiny when applied with a wet brush. The next shade where in that palette would be a satin is the matte with the glitter in it. We've established I hate that. Let's move on. I really like the glitters in this palette. They feel a lot more dry than the other one. I think I like the colors better. But these shimmers, glitters, whatever the fuck they are, they do come off a lot prettier than the other one. The pink is a little more subtle, but the purple and the blue, like, just look at that. The purple has kind of like a duochrome shift, and then the blue is more of like a shimmery, it does have the glitter, but it's more of a shimmer than a glitter. So it's less likely to get glitter all over your face as the day progresses. And the pink is a little more of like a glitter topper shade, I'd say. Like, it's not very opaque, but it does look pretty and it layers very well. So I'm gonna have to rate this palette. See, this one's hard because the stuff I liked, I really fucking liked, and the stuff I didn't like, I really fucking didn't like. I don't think this one's a waste of money. It is a fun palette. The highlighter was great. It's the same formula as the other highlighter, so I can't complain. Okay, I'm gonna give this palette a 3 out of 5 potatoes. So let's get into swatches of the Future Is Me palette. And then it'll go right into my little tutorial here. You can see how I did today's look. And then we're going to be done for today. And if you don't care and you just wanted to hear my opinion, then we'll see you in the next one. Here is the gray matte. Very soft, very smooth. And brace yourselves for this one. The navy matte. Is that not just wonderful? I'm so happy with these mattes. It's insane. The pearlescent white, which, I mean, bam for a white shade, right? There is that metallic, well, it's a little glittery. The glittery metallic silver shade, and the oh so stupid matte with rainbow glitter. We have the pink glitter topper, the teal glitter shade, and the purple duochrome glitter shiny stuff. And then lastly we have Stunning, that highlight though. So I started this one kind of similar to the other one. I didn't have a base shade on my lid, but I started by stamping the gray in the outer corner and bringing that into my crease and eventually floofing it out with a floofy brush. And now I'm stamping on that navy color just in the outer corner over top of the gray to darken it up, give it more depth, and then I'm dragging it under my lower lash line. Again, we'll floof that out with a floofy brush. Next, I'm stamping on that pearlescent white shade, and holy crap, is it ever white? With my finger, and then floofing it. It does not, as you will notice, mush together with the dark colors. Oh my god. So then I'm taking the white highlight shade from the palette, putting that in my inner corners. Bit of navy liner on the waterline, and I'm topping the whole thing off with some Steel glitter in Diamond Dust. I believe it's Diamond Dust. And I just used the Monsieur Big mascara. And again, bam, look at that highlighter. Oh, so nice. And for my lip topper today, I also used the Essence Hollow Wow lip gloss. Wow.